Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and do some more predator slash buckshot patterning, I suppose. These are kind of an in-between shell, but we've definitely got a very interesting combination to run today. It's one that several of you guys requested for us to try out, and I'm definitely curious to see what it can do as well. We've only tested this choke once or twice so far on the channel, but it's shown us some promise, and we know these shells are some very impressive performers. So I'm curious to see if this choke combo and shell actually works well together or not. But as for the load we're going to run today, I brought out some more of the Salt Creek triple threat shells. These ones are a 2 3/4 inch 1 ounce payload of TSS T shot, moving about 1200 feet per second. These are a little bit of a custom load of their triple threat shells. Usually they're a 3 inch 2 ounce payload. However, big thank you to Nick. He's been a viewer of the channel for quite some time. He sent us in a couple boxes of these several months ago, and we did deer hunt with them as well this fall. So here's the video up above if you want to see how a TSS T shot does on a deer. But these are a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter recoiling shell, and the 1 ounce payload equals out to 23 or 24 pellets, somewhere right about that. So a lot of you guys have been wanting to see more testing with these shells, and I've got a couple of them left, so I got a few ideas on what we can do with them. Either way, very stout loading as far as performance goes. A TSS T is no joke, but I don't know how they're going to perform through today's choke combo. But as for today's setup, I brought out the Remington 1187. This one's got a 28-inch barrel on it, but for that choke, we've got a Kicks Howler in here today. This is the Howler H, which is their heavy shot model. It's a touch more open constriction, and apparently it can handle a little bit stouter, heavy shot TSS type of loadings. I believe these are either supposed to be a 700 or a 705 constriction. My particular choke measures at exactly 703. So roughly improved modified constriction range, but it's interesting because these shells tend to perform at their best with an improved cylinder choke. I have tested them through modifieds and stuff like that. They still perform perfectly fine, but the tightest patterns seem to be at improved cylinder, so I don't know how this is going to work. It's a good choke, it's a very good shell, but we'll see what the combination of the two put together actually does. But as for today's test, we're going to run it the same as we usually do. I've got a big sheet of paper set up at 40 yards, as well as a chronograph and templates that we can lay up over our result so we can get an idea of how they actually performed. These shells are capable on coyote, hogs, deer, stuff like that, at least to 50 yards as far as energy and penetration and stuff like that goes. But 40 yards is pretty standard operation, so that's what we're going to run it at for today's test, and we'll see what we get. I don't know exactly if this combo is going to work out or if it's going to be too much choke and actually start to blow our pattern back open again, but let's take our shot and see what we're able to get. Alright, that shell gave us 1209 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1200. So from our 28-inch barrel, we're pretty well right on the money. So looking perfect for a velocity up here, and a TSS T at 1200 is no joke, that's for sure, as far as energy numbers go and stuff. But how did they actually pattern through that Kicks Howler Predator choke? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and we see some very nice looking results. Coming into it, I wasn't sure what we were going to get through that little bit tighter Kicks Howler at 703. I thought there was a decent chance it would start to actually blow our pattern open, even if that is a pretty good performing choke, and that's not exactly what we saw here, that's for sure. We had 24 pellets on the paper, which is what we've been seeing, is either 23 or 24 pellets in these shells. We see a nice condensed pattern right around our point of aim with two maybe slight flyers down there in the bottom right, but they're not too far off. I did measure everything. We had 24 pellets, obviously, but our farthest 2 points across were 19 inches, including the flyers. However, we had a 13-inch spread for the other 22 pellets that you see right there on your screen, just discounting those two down there at the very bottom. So that is a very devastating performance out at 40 yards all day long. I mean, that center section, 13 inches, that's the size of a basketball. And if you center that up through the lungs of a deer, you're going to be hitting them with over 20 pellets worth of TSS T. capability. So I already have hunted deer with these. I know they are extremely effective, and that pattern is no exception right there. You could easily hunt with that pattern at 40 yards, and you could push that a little farther as well and still hold the pattern capability. So I'm a little surprised and pretty impressed with that Kicks Howler so far. That's very comparable to what we get with an improved cylinder. I believe our improved cylinder was 16 inches or so, with maybe 1 or 2 flyers as well. So that is very much comparable. No complaints from me on that one, but let's throw a few templates up and it'll give you guys a little better reference on how good this pattern might be. First up, we have a 10-inch circle. If we put it right with our core area, we have 17 and a half, or maybe 18 if you want to include that very bottom left pellet. That's kind of half in and half out of our 10-inch circle. Either way, over 3/4 of the load in a 10-inch circle at 40 yards. It's just confirming that we have a plenty hot enough core. There might be a tiny little void right in the top center of it right there, but still, that's nothing major. It's smaller than your fist would be. And you can see our 2 flyers down there at the bottom. So 10-inch circle, I'd say it's looking pretty good, but let's throw a few animals up and see how it would look on a hunt. So next up, we have our deer template, and I have personally deer hunted with these exact shells before earlier this season, and we dropped the doe right where she stood with them. So I know they are very effective on deer. The pellet size might be a little smaller than your double-aught buck loads you might think of using, but the energy numbers and the penetration capability is ridiculous with these. And clearly, you would have 95% or more of your load right through the vitals on that deer. I think the only 2 pellets that didn't hit the deer are right down there kind of in front and right behind the back leg, just behind the template, and those are the 2 flyers. So out to 40 yards, that is more than capable for a deer hunt. You're not going to start losing your energy capability till at least 50 yards, but mathematically, you should be perfectly fine to 60 with these as well. I have heard of people shooting deer at longer ranges than 60 with these, and they're still plenty capable. And with that kind of pattern, you could definitely do it, that's for sure. So even though we got a predator choke, it's a good combo for deer hunting, but we'll switch over to the hog template and give you guys a little better view of something a little bit smaller body size as well, because I think it's also going to be pretty effective there. And here's that hog template. Like I suspected, pretty well the same story. Would be plenty good enough for pig hunting all day long. A coyote would be a little bit smaller than this hog template is as far as their body size goes. And clearly, if you wanted to predator hunt with these, you would be more than good enough as well. That would absolutely hammer a coyote. So overall, I don't think you can argue one bit with that kind of performance. 24 pellets worth of TSS Ts at 1200 feet per second is probably going to do the job on whatever you would want to use these for, and whatever gets hit by them is not going to have a very good day. And I was a little bit concerned about our pattern potential coming into it. I didn't know if this choke was going to blow our pattern open because of the little bit tighter constriction, but clearly that's not what we saw. So looking very nice here overall. That Kicks Howler did a great job with them, I would say. And here's the wad from that shell. Nothing fancy, but you can see it did perfectly fine. Nothing stuck down in there. There are a few little snags and torn up bits on here, but it went through a ported Kicks choke, and this is very much normal and what I would expect to see going through that particular choke. A lot of the Kicks chokes do this same thing, so nothing out of the usual, and clearly I think it performed perfectly fine. So nothing to be concerned with here. Alright, well, what did y'all think about that test? It is very capable, there's no question about that. We know those shells were good patterning loads coming into it. We knew that Kicks Howler choke had shown us some promising results with just some basic buckshot oriented loads. And now that we've run a big TSS pellet through it, I would say it can handle it just fine as well. Once again, the Salt Creek stuff is just some very nasty performing loads. And their triple threat shells, from my testing, I've tested several different shot sizes of that load, and they're always lights out. But you can overchoke them a little bit, which is what I was concerned with coming into it. Clearly though, it seems like a good quality aftermarket choke that controls the pellets and the wad and stuff like that correctly, can clearly perform very nicely with it over just moving to a tighter factory style flush choke. So you can't really argue with that kind of performance. I think it's pretty obvious. I wouldn't hesitate to hunt anything from varmints like groundhogs, raccoons, possums, all the way up to predators, coyote, fox, all the way into the deer and pig range as well. It's plenty capable. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is it about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Salt Creek triple threat shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is this a combo you would ever hunt with? And if so, what kind of stuff would you take it out after? And what other combos might you want to see us try with either that Kicks Howler H or potentially those Salt Creek triple threat shells as well? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.